They say healers are born with gentle souls, soft hands, hearts too tender for the cruelty of the world. Perhaps that's why we make such perfect slaves. We feel too much. We break too easily. And when we're broken, we still reach out to mend others, because it's the only thing we know how to do. My name is Elara, and I was born with the gift of healing in my blood. A gift that should have been my salvation. Instead, it became my chains. For 3 years, I've served the Blackmore Council, a gathering of wolves who rule with iron claws and frozen hearts. They call themselves protectors of the pack, guardians of order. But I've seen what lurks behind their polished words and gleaming thrones. I've seen the dungeons. I've heard the screams. And tonight, they're sending me to heal something they've kept hidden in the deepest, darkest pit of their stone fortress. Something they whisper about only when they think no one is listening. The beast. They say it's feral, mindless, a monster that must be kept alive but never freed. They say it killed the true Alpha 5 years ago and has been rotting in chains ever since. But as I descend the spiral staircase into the belly of the earth, torch trembling in my grip, something whispers against my healer's instincts, something that feels less like warning and more like recognition. The council chambers smell of old blood and older lies. I kneel on the cold marble floor, head bowed, waiting for Lord Varen to finish his wine. He takes his time. He always does. The crystal glass catches the firelight as he swirls the crimson liquid, watching it coat the sides like the stain of sin. The creature in the lower dungeons requires your attention, he finally says, his voice smooth as poisoned honey. It stopped eating, stopped responding to pain. We need it alive, healer. Can you manage that? I don't look up. Slaves don't look up. Yes, my lord. Good. His chair scrapes against the floor as he rises. You'll go tonight. Alone. The guards. Disturb it. My heart stutters. Alone. In the deepest dungeon with a beast that disturbs even armed shifters. My lord, if I may ask. You may not. The words crack like a whip. I flinch, hating myself for it. Lord Varen's boots appear in my lowered vision, polished leather, probably worth more than my life. His finger hooks beneath my chin, forcing my face upward. His golden eyes bore into mine, searching for defiance, for anything he can punish. You're a healer, girl, born to serve. Your mother understood that before she died. I trust you do as well. The mention of my mother sends ice through my veins. She'd been a healer too, the best in 3 territories. The council had worked her until her gift burned out, until she collapsed in the healing chambers and never rose again. I was 14 when they dragged me from her cold body and put me to work in her place. I understand, my lord. He releases my chin with a dismissive flick. See that you do. The beast must survive. Its death would be inconvenient. I don't ask why. I've learned that questions lead to pain, and pain leads to scars that take too long to heal, even for someone like me. The guards escort me through the fortress, past the gleaming halls where council wolves feast and laugh, past the servants' quarters where other slaves sleep in crowded rooms, past the armory and the training grounds until we reach a door I've never noticed before. It's black iron, older than the fortress itself, covered in symbols that make my healer's blood sing with warning. Containment wards, suppression magic. Whatever lies beyond this door, they want it weak, broken, unable to escape. You'll have 1 hour, the guard says, his voice tight with barely concealed fear. If you're not out by then, we assume you're dead and seal the door. He doesn't wait for my response. The ancient door groans open, revealing a staircase that descends into absolute darkness. The torch they give me feels pathetically small against the void. I begin my descent. The air changes as I go deeper. It grows heavier, thicker, saturated with the copper tang of old blood and something else, something wild and earthy that makes my instincts prickle with awareness. The stairs seem endless, down and down, spiraling into the earth's hungry belly. And then finally, I reach the bottom. The dungeon is vast, far larger than I expected. Cells line the walls, most empty, their bars rusted with age and neglect. But at the very end, at the heart of this underground tomb, stands a cage unlike any other. Silver bars as thick as my arm, chains hanging from the ceiling, symbols carved into the floor, glowing faintly with suppressive magic. And within that cage, a shape, massive, still, breathing so slowly I almost miss it. I take a step forward. My torch sputters, 2 eyes open in the darkness. They're blue. Not the pale blue of ice or the bright blue of summer skies. These are the deep, depthless blue of ocean storms, of waves that could swallow ships whole. And they're looking directly at me. Every survival instinct I possess screams at me to run. This is no ordinary prisoner, no common criminal or captured rogue. The power emanating from that cage presses against my senses like a physical weight, making my knees want to buckle. But I don't run. I can't. Because beneath the overwhelming presence, beneath the wild energy and the heavy chains, I sense something else entirely. Pain. So much pain it steals my breath. The creature shifts within its cage, and now I can see it properly. A wolf. But calling it a wolf feels like calling a hurricane a breeze. It's enormous, easily twice the size of any shifter I've ever seen. Its fur might have been silver once, but now it's matted with filth, patches missing where wounds have scarred over badly. The chains wrapped around its body have worn grooves into its flesh. Some are fresh, still bleeding sluggishly. Others are old, the skin having grown, around the metal in a grotesque marriage of body and bondage. How long has it been down here? I take another step forward, raising my torch higher. The wolf's massive head tracks my movement, those devastating blue eyes never blinking. I'm here to help you, I say softly, as if speaking to a frightened child rather than a predator that could end me with one swipe of its claws. I'm a healer. A sound rumbles from the creature's chest. Not quite a growl. Something lower. Something that might have been a laugh, if laughter could contain such bitter sorrow. The wolf's form shudders, and I realize with sudden horror that it's trying to shift. Trying to become human. The chains glow brighter in response, the suppression symbols on the floor pulsing with malevolent light. The wolf throws back its head and lets out a sound that isn't quite a howl. It's a scream. A scream of agony as the magic forces it to remain in beast form. Stop! I cry, dropping my torch and rushing toward the cage without thinking. Stop! You're hurting yourself! The wolf goes still. Its sides heave with labored breaths, fresh blood dripping from where the chains have bitten deeper during its struggle. Those blue eyes find mine through the bars. And for a moment, just a moment, I see something human looking back at me. Help me. The words aren't spoken, they're felt. A brush against my mind so faint I might have imagined it. But I didn't. I know I didn't. I press my hands against the cold silver bars, ignoring the burn of the enchanted metal against my palms. I'm going to help you, I whisper fiercely. I don't know how yet, but I will. The wolf studies me, searching, weighing, deciding. Then slowly, painfully, it lowers its massive body to the floor and stretches its head toward me. An offering, a chance. Trust, despite everything. The silver burns. I feel it the moment my healing magic flows into the wolf, not just his pain, but the corruption of the metal poisoning his blood. Silver is lethal to shifters in large doses. These chains have been slowly killing him for years. My hands shake as I work, pushing my gift deeper than I've ever dared before. The wolf lies motionless, only the occasional twitch of muscle betraying his consciousness. Those blue eyes remain fixed on my face as if I'm something miraculous, something impossible. The wounds on your shoulders, I murmur, more to myself than to him. They're the oldest. I'm going to start there. A slight incline of his massive head. Understanding. Agreement. I've healed countless wolves over the years. Guards who got too rough with prisoners. Council members who demanded discretion after their private cruelties. Once, even Lord Varen himself, after an assassination attempt left him bleeding on his chamber floor. But I've never felt a connection like this. It's as if our souls are touching. Every wound I heal resonates through my own body. Phantom pain that makes me gasp and grit my teeth. And beneath the pain, something else flows between us. Memories that aren't mine. Running through forests at midnight, a pack at his heels, a woman's voice warm with love. My son. My beautiful son. The weight of a crown, not metal, but responsibility. Leadership. Purpose. Then betrayal. Poison in his wine. Claws at his throat. Familiar faces twisted with greed. The Alpha is dead, someone declares. Long live the council. I wrench myself back, breathing hard. My hands are still pressed against his fur, but I've stopped healing. I'm staring into those blue eyes with new understanding. You're not a beast, I whisper. You're... The wolf's gaze holds mine, steady, unflinching. You know. You're the true Alpha, the one they said died. You've been down here the whole time. A sound escapes him, that bitter, broken laugh again. Chains rattle as he shifts slightly, revealing more of the damage done to his body. Scars upon scars. Wounds that were never allowed to fully heal. They hadn't just imprisoned him. They'd been torturing him. My blood runs cold as the full horror of it crashes over me. The council, the wolves I've served for 3 years, believing them to be legitimate rulers, are usurpers. Traitors. They've kept their rightful Alpha chained in darkness while they feasted in his halls. I have to tell someone. I breathe. I have to. No. The word slams into my mind with unexpected force. The wolf struggles to rise, chains groaning in protest. They'll kill you, like they killed everyone who knew, like they almost killed me. But, please, that single word carries such weight, such profound exhaustion, that my protests die in my throat. This wolf, this Alpha, has been fighting alone for so long, has been hoping and despairing in equal measure with no one to hear his screams. And now he's afraid. Not for himself. For me. I won't tell anyone, I promise, though the words taste like ash on my tongue. But I'm coming back. Every night they send me. I'm coming back. I'm going to heal you properly. I'm going to find a way to break these chains. The wolf stares at me for a long moment. Then slowly, he lowers his head to rest against the bars near my hands. Close enough that I could stroke his matted fur if I dared. Why? The question shimmers between us. Why would a slave risk everything for a fallen king? Why would anyone show kindness in a world so devoid of it? I think of my mother, working herself to death because no one cared enough to tell her to stop. I think of the other slaves, the prisoners, the countless beings crushed beneath the council's heel. I think of the boy I was never allowed to be close to, my childhood friend who was executed for questioning Lord Varen's authority. Because no one helped me when I needed it, I say softly, and I swore I'd never become like them. The wolf closes his eyes. Something wet glistens on his muzzle. They call me Kane. That was my name. Before. Kane, I repeat, tasting the syllables. They feel important, sacred. I'm Elara. Elara. My name has never sounded like that, like a prayer, like hope reborn. When the guards call time, I leave the dungeon with a secret burning in my chest and a purpose I haven't felt in years. Night after night, they send me down. Lord Varen believes the beast is merely sick, a valuable prisoner growing too weak to survive. He doesn't know that each visit, I pour more of myself into Kane's healing. He doesn't know that the wolf's strength is returning, slowly but surely. And he certainly doesn't know that we've begun to talk. Not with words. Kane still can't shift, still can't speak with his human voice. But the mental connection between us grows stronger with each healing session. Thoughts flow more easily. Images, emotions. I learn his story in fragments. Kane had been alpha for only 2 years when the council moved against him. He'd been trying to change things, abolish the slave trade, open the borders to refugees, distribute power more evenly among the pack. Radical ideas that threatened the wealth and privilege of those who'd grown fat under his father's more traditional rule. Lord Varen had led the coup. 12 council members, moving together in the dead of night. They'd drugged Kane's food, suppressed his wolf, and beaten him nearly to death. They wanted me to watch while they killed my mother. Kane's voice whispers through our bond. Made me choose between her life and signing documents that transferred power to the council. What did you do? I signed. I would have signed anything to save her. My throat tightens. Did they killed her anyway. Said she knew too much. Said I needed to learn that defiance has consequences. I'm crying. I realize it distantly. Tears sliding down my cheeks, dripping onto my hands where they rest on his fur. I've never cried for anyone except my mother. Never let myself feel deeply enough. But Kane's pain is my pain now. His memories are carved into my soul. Don't cry for me, Elara. I'm not worth your tears. That's the most ridiculous thing you've ever said. I scrub my face with my sleeve, anger mixing with grief. You tried to help people. You tried to make things better, and they punished you for it. I failed. My pack suffers under their rule because I wasn't strong enough to protect them. You were poisoned and outnumbered. That's not weakness, that's treachery. I press my forehead against the bars, close enough that his breath stirs my hair. And you're not done yet. You're still alive. That means there's still a chance. A long silence stretches between us. When Kane finally speaks again, his mental voice is rough with emotions too complex to name. In 5 years, you're the first person who hasn't looked at me with fear or disgust. The first person who's touched me without intent to harm. Why don't you fear me, Elara? I consider the question seriously. I should fear him. Even weakened, Kane is the most powerful wolf I've ever encountered. If he wanted to, he could probably crush me against these bars. But fear isn't what I feel when I look at him. Because I know what it's like to be seen as something less than what you are. I finally answer. The council looks at me and sees a useful tool. A possession. They don't see that I dream of the sea, even though I've never seen it. They don't know that I collect feathers from the courtyard and hide them under my mattress because they're beautiful. They don't care that I cry every year on my mother's death day. I pause, running my fingers through the small section of his fur I've managed to clean. It's softer than I expected. Silver white, gleaming even in the torchlight. They see a slave, but you looked at me like I was a person the very first night. Like my life mattered. I smile sadly. How could I fear someone who makes me feel human? Kane makes a low sound in his chest, not quite a purr, but close. His massive head nuzzles against my hand through the bars. You're remarkable, Elara. The bravest person I've ever known. I'm not brave. I'm terrified every single night I come down here. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act despite it. I laugh softly, a sound I barely recognize as my own. Where did you learn that? Some ancient alpha wisdom? My mother. She used to say it when I was small and afraid of thunderstorms. The image blooms in my mind, gifted through our bond. A young boy with silver hair and two serious blue eyes, huddled against a woman who shares his coloring. She strokes his hair and whispers reassurances as lightning splits the sky outside their window. She sounds wonderful. She was everything. We fall into comfortable silence, my hands continuing their healing work while my mind wanders. I think about my own mother, her warm smile, her tired eyes, the way she'd sing old lullabies even when she could barely stand from exhaustion. My mother used to tell me stories, I offer quietly, about a world before the council rose to power, when healers were honored, not enslaved, when wolves and humans lived in partnership. Those stories are true. I've seen the archives. The world was different once. Do you think it could be again? Another long pause. Then softly, with you, I'm beginning to think anything is possible. My heart does something strange at those words. Something warm and terrifying all at once. I should not feel this way about an imprisoned wolf. About anyone. Attachment is weakness. Weakness gets you killed. But as I leave the dungeon that night, Kane's eyes following me until the darkness swallows my torch, I can't help but feel that I'm already past the point of no return. 3 months into our secret meetings, everything changes. I arrive in the dungeon to find Kane standing, truly standing, for the first time since I began my healing. The chains still bind him, but his body has filled out, muscle replacing the wasted flesh of prolonged captivity. His fur gleams with health, silver white, and magnificent. And his eyes hold fire. Elara. The way he says my name, even in thought, makes something inside me shiver. He's different tonight, charged. The air crackles with his barely contained power. What's happened? The moon. Tomorrow is the full moon. I know what that means for shifters. Their power peaks. Their wolves become harder to control. For the alpha. It must be overwhelming. The suppression magic weakens during full moons. Not enough to let me shift, but enough that I can feel more of my power. Feel more of... He trails off. But through our bond, I catch the edges of what he's not saying. You. What do you mean? Kane's massive form moves closer to the bars, close enough that I could touch him if I reached through. His blue eyes bore into mine with an intensity that makes my breath catch. There's something I haven't told you. Something I didn't understand until recently. My heart begins to race. Kane. Fated mates are rare. Most wolves go their entire lives without finding theirs. But when they do, the bond is unmistakable. Unbreakable. My hands are shaking. I clasp them together to hide it. Why are you telling me this? Because I feel it. I've felt it since the first night you touched me. This pull, this recognition. Kane presses his muzzle against the bars, and I find myself moving forward, drawn by the same force he's describing. You're my mate, Elara. My fated. The one my soul has been searching for. The words hit me like a physical blow. Mate. Fated. The concepts are foreign. Human servants aren't taught about such things. But the feeling beneath them. I've felt it too. The pull toward him that defies logic. The peace I feel in his presence. The way my healing magic responds to him like it never has to anyone else. I'm human, I whisper. I can't be a wolf's mate. You can. The bond doesn't care about species, only souls. I'm a slave. You're the woman I would make my queen. Tears blur my vision. Kane, even if this is true, even if we could somehow be together, look at where we are. You're in chains. I'm property. There's no future for us. There could be, if you're willing to fight for it. Fight how? Against the entire council? They have armies. They have magic. They have fear. Kane's voice cuts through my spiraling panic with quiet certainty. Fear is the only thing keeping this pack in line. Fear of punishment. Fear of loss. Fear of the monster in the dungeon. His blue eyes gleam with something I haven't seen there before. Purpose. Planning. Hope. But fear can be turned. The council isn't beloved. They're tolerated. Endured. If the pack knew their true alpha still lived, if they knew what had really happened 5 years ago, they'd revolt, I breathe, understanding dawning. Some would. The ones who remember what justice feels like. The ones who've suffered under Varen's rule. But how? You can't break these chains. You can't shift. You can't even leave this cell. I can't, but you can. I stare at him. At this magnificent, broken wolf who somehow still believes in better days. Who looks at me, a slave with nothing to my name, like I'm capable of moving mountains. What are you asking me to do? There's a woman. Mira, the head cook. She was loyal to my mother. If she knew I was alive, she'd help. She has connections in the pack, wolves who remember the old ways. You want me to start a rebellion. I want us to reclaim our lives. Both of us. Together. The dungeon suddenly feels too small. The weight of what he's proposing presses down on my shoulders, threatening to crush me. I'm not a revolutionary. I'm not a warrior. I'm just a healer who's learned to keep her head down and survive. But when I look at Kane, really look at him, I don't see a wolf asking me to risk everything on impossible odds. I see the first person who's ever believed I could be more than what they made me. Tell me about Mira, I say quietly. Kane's eyes light with something that looks terribly like love. I knew you were remarkable. I don't feel remarkable. I feel terrified. But I also feel, for the first time in my life, like I'm finally becoming who I was always meant to be. Everything falls apart on the night of the full moon. I'm crossing the courtyard toward the kitchens, toward Mira, when Lord Varen's voice freezes me in my tracks. Going somewhere, healer? I turn slowly, forcing my expression into the blank mask of obedience I've worn for 3 years. Just to the kitchens, my lord. I haven't eaten. He circles me slowly, golden eyes sharp with suspicion. You've been spending a great deal of time in the dungeons lately. More than strictly necessary to keep the beast alive. My heart pounds against my ribs. It's very ill, my lord. The healing takes. I know what healing takes, girl. Your mother wasn't the only healer I've known. Something cold slithers down my spine. The way he says it, with such casual cruelty, makes me think of Kane's warning. They killed everyone who knew. The beast is special, Varen continues, still circling. Unique. Do you know why we keep it alive? No, my lord. Because its blood has properties, useful properties. He stops directly in front of me, close enough that I can smell the wine on his breath. Properties that require a living source. Horror claws at my throat. They've been bleeding him, using his alpha blood for... what? Potions? Experiments? Some dark magic I can't fathom? I've noticed something interesting these past weeks, Varen continues, his voice dropping to a whisper. The beast is healing faster than it should, growing stronger. And you come back from the dungeons with a light in your eyes that wasn't there before. I don't know what you... His hand snaps out, fingers wrapping around my throat. Not hard enough to choke, but hard enough to remind me exactly who holds power here. Do you think I'm stupid, girl? Do you think I don't know what a healing bond looks like? He shakes me slightly. You've been pouring your magic into that creature, strengthening it. Why? He was dying, I gasp. You wanted him alive. I wanted him weak, controllable. Varen's composure cracks, revealing the fury beneath. Do you have any idea what that thing is? The chaos it could cause if it ever broke free? He's not a thing. He's your rightful alpha. The words escape before I can stop them. Varen goes absolutely still. For a moment, there's only silence. Then he smiles. It's the most terrifying expression I've ever seen. So, he says softly, the beast has been telling tales. The pack deserves to know the truth. The pack deserves nothing except what I choose to give them. Varen's grip tightens on my throat. And you, little healer, deserve exactly what your mother got. Elara. Kane's roar crashes through my mind like a thunderclap. Distantly, I hear something else, an actual roar, echoing up from the depths of the fortress. The ground trembles beneath my feet. Varen's eyes widen. What? The explosion cuts him off. Stone and dust cascade from somewhere deep below. Howls erupt. Not the orderly sounds of guards on patrol, but screaming, fighting, chaos. Varen releases my throat, spinning toward the source of the destruction. That's impossible. The wards. The full moon, I whisper, understanding blooming. You said the suppression magic weakens during full moons. Varen's face drains of color. The chains will hold. They must hold. Another crash. More screaming. The howls are spreading now. Some panicked, others triumphant. Elara, run! Kane's voice is stronger than I've ever heard it. Stronger than should be possible through our bond. I'm breaking free. But Varen won't let you live if he thinks you're part of this. Run! But I don't run. Instead, I throw myself at Varen, channeling every ounce of my healer's magic into the most offensive thing I've ever attempted. It's not a spell for harm. Healers don't have those. But I pour all my energy into making his body feel every bit of pain he's ever caused, every wound he's ever inflicted reflected back through our contact. Varen screams. His claws rake across my shoulder as he throws me off, but I've bought precious seconds. The doors to the courtyard explode inward, and through the smoke and debris, a wolf emerges. Silver-white fur gleaming in the moonlight. Blue eyes blazing with the fires of vengeance. Kane. He's shifted. Somehow, impossibly, he's shifted. And he is magnificent. Varen! Kane's human voice erupts from the wolf's throat, warped and doubled but unmistakable. Your time is over. The battle that follows will become legend. Kane tears through the guards who try to stop him, not killing, but incapacitating. Even in his rage, even after years of torment, he shows more mercy than his enemies ever showed him. More wolves flood into the courtyard, some in council colors, others in ragged clothes that mark them as servants, slaves. The very people Varen has been grinding beneath his heel for 5 years. Mira is among them, I realize with shock. The head cook stands at the front of a mob wielding kitchen knives and rolling pins, her eyes blazing with fierce satisfaction. The true Alpha returns, she shouts. Fight for your king! The tide turns. Council wolves begin to surrender, to flee, to grovel for mercy they never extended to others. And through it all, Kane fights toward me. When he finally reaches where I've fallen, blood streaming from my shoulder, his massive form curves protectively over my body. His muzzle presses against my face, my hair checking for injuries. Elara, Elara, I'm here. I've got you. You shifted, I whisper, reaching up to touch his fur. My hand comes away red with both our blood. How? You, your healing, your love. His voice cracks with emotion. You gave me something to fight for, Elara. Someone to come back to. I thought the magic would hold. It should have. But you poured so much of yourself into healing me, so much of your light. He makes a sound that might be a sob. You broke the curse, my love. You and your impossible, beautiful heart. Across the courtyard, Lord Varen struggles to his feet. His eyes find us. Kane's wolf form curled around my bleeding body, and pure hatred twists his features. This isn't over, he snarls. The council. The council is finished, Kane interrupts. His voice is calm now, regal, the voice of an alpha. He rises to his full height, and I watch as his form shimmers, shifts, changes. When he stands again, he's human. Tall and lean with 5 years of imprisonment carved into the angles of his face. Silver white hair falls to his shoulders, matted and wild. But his eyes, those devastating blue eyes, hold the same fire I fell in love with in the dungeon. You stole my throne, Kane says quietly. You murdered my mother. You tortured me in my own dungeons while wearing my crown. Varen takes a step back. Now, Kane, let's be reasonable. You know what's reasonable? Kane moves forward, and every wolf in the courtyard seems to hold their breath. Killing you where you stand. Making your death as slow and agonizing as the years you inflicted on me. For a moment, I see it. The darkness that imprisonment has bred in him. The capacity for cruelty that suffering can create. Then Kane turns his head, finds my eyes across the chaos, and something in him softens. But I have someone in my life now who reminds me that vengeance isn't justice. He returns his attention to Varen, who's begun to shake. You'll stand trial, before the entire pack. Every crime exposed, every ally named. And when judgment is rendered, it won't be by my claws. It'll be by the people you've wronged. Varen lunges. Kane doesn't even move. A dozen wolves slam into the former lord, pinning him to the ground before he can take a single step. Take him to the cells, Kane orders. The deep ones. Let him remember what it feels like to be forgotten. As they drag Varen away, Kane crosses the courtyard to where I'm still slumped against the wall. He drops to his knees before me, heedless of the blood and chaos, and cups my face in his hands. You're injured. It's nothing. It's everything. He presses his forehead to mine. You're everything, Elara. My mate, my healer. The woman who saw through darkness and chains and believed in me anyway. Kane, marry me. The words stop my heart. What? Be my queen. Rule beside me. Help me rebuild this pack into something worth believing in. His thumbs trace my cheekbones, wiping away blood and tears I didn't realize I was crying. I know it's too soon. I know we barely know each other outside of a dungeon. But I've spent 5 years in darkness dreaming of light. And Elara, you are the sun I've been waiting for. I should say no. I should ask for time, for courtship, for all the normal steps that lead to a life together. But nothing about us has ever been normal. Yes, I whisper. Kane's smile could light the entire night sky. When he kisses me, really kisses me, for the first time, it tastes like freedom, like hope, like the beginning of something magnificent. 1 year later, the throne room is unrecognizable from the cold, imposing chamber I used to scrub on my hands and knees. Sunlight streams through new windows. Flowers from the healing gardens perfume the air. And the faces looking up at me, they're smiling. Kane stands beside me, his hand warm in mine. He's filled out over the past year, the gaunt angles of imprisonment replaced by healthy muscle. His hair is shorter now, neatly trimmed, though still that striking silver white. He's beautiful. But more than that, he's happy. We both are. Citizens of Blackmoor, Kane's voice rings through the hall. Today we gather not to mourn the past, but to celebrate our future. Cheers erupt. I see Mira in the crowd, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. Beside her stands a young woman I freed from the slave quarters last spring. She's training as a healer now, her gift blooming under proper care. 1 year ago, this pack was a place of fear and suffering. The council ruled through intimidation, and those who dared to dream of better were crushed. Kane's grip tightens on my hand, but one person refused to accept that reality. One person looked at a monster in chains and saw a man worth saving. He turns to face me, and my heart swells at the love in his eyes. Elara came to me as a slave, sent to keep their prisoner alive for their own dark purposes. She had every reason to fear me, to hate me, to simply do her job and walk away. Instead, she chose compassion. She chose courage. She chose love. Tears stream freely down my face now. I don't try to hide them. Today, as your alpha, I formally present my mate and queen. Kane brings my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. Elara, healer of Blackmoor, breaker of chains, and keeper of my heart. The crowd's cheers become thunderous. I see faces I've healed over the past year, wolves who've pledged loyalty not out of fear but genuine devotion. I see the changes Kane has implemented, the abolition of the slave trade, the Council of Elected Representatives, the opening of the borders. Not everything is perfect. It never will be. There are still wolves who resent the new order, still wounds that will take generations to heal. But looking out at the crowd, at my people, my pack, my family, I feel something I haven't felt since my mother died. Hope. Later that night, Kane and I stand on the balcony of our chambers, looking out over the kingdom that is now ours to protect. The moon hangs full and bright, no longer a reminder of his torment, but a symbol of his freedom. You know, I say softly, leaning into his warmth, you never did tell me how you finally broke the chains. Kane is quiet for a moment. Then he wraps his arms around me, pulling me close against his chest. The suppression magic was designed to respond to rage, hatred, violence. His voice is low, intimate. The more I fought, the stronger it became. For 5 years, that's all I had. Fury at what they'd done, despair at what I'd lost. What changed? He presses a kiss to my hair. You. Your healing didn't just repair my body. It showed me there was still gentleness in the world. Still compassion. Still love. His arms tighten around me. On the full moon, when I felt Varen's hands on you, when I sensed your fear through our bond, I didn't feel rage. I felt love. The desperate, overwhelming need to protect the person who had become my entire world. And love broke the chains? Love wasn't what the magic was designed to suppress. It didn't know what to do with it. He laughs softly. 5 years of torture couldn't break me, but 3 months of you learning to love me, that's what set me free. I turn in his arms, cupping his face in my hands. Even now, a year later, the wonder of being able to touch him openly never fades. I love you, Kane. And I love you, Elara. He leans down, resting his forehead against mine. My healer. My mate. My queen. When he kisses me beneath the full moon, I feel the mate bond pulse between us. Stronger than any chain, more unbreakable than any curse. We've both known darkness. We've both known pain. But together, we've found something worth more than all the thrones in the world. We've found home. Epilogue, 5 years later. Mama! Mama, look what I found! I look up from my herbs to see my daughter racing across the healing garden, silver hair streaming behind her like a banner. In her small hands, she clutches a feather, pure white, perfect. That's beautiful, Iris, I say, kneeling to examine her treasure. Where did you find it? Papa's balcony. He said it was from a messenger bird. She holds it up to the sunlight, watching it gleam. Can I keep it? I think of the collection still hidden under my mattress, the feathers I gathered as a slave, the small beauties that reminded me I was still human. Some things haven't changed. Of course you can. I tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. Why don't you put it somewhere safe? Dinner's almost ready. Iris scampers off, and I return to my work with a smile. The healing garden was the first thing I built after becoming queen. Now it supplies medicines for the entire pack and trains new healers to carry on the tradition. Strong arms wrap around my waist from behind. Kane's chin rests on my shoulder, his breath warm against my neck. Our daughter terrorizing the messenger birds again? Just collecting feathers. I lean back into his embrace. She takes after me. She takes after both of us. He kisses my temple, her mother's heart, her father's stubbornness. I thought that was the other way around. His laugh rumbles through his chest, and I feel it reverberate through my entire body. "How's your day been?" I ask. "Good." The council approved the new trade agreement. Mira's teaching the kitchen staff that recipe you love. And I received word that Varen died in exile. I go still. We'd banished the former lord after his trial. Death had seemed too merciful for everything he'd done. I'd expected to feel something at the news. Relief, perhaps. Satisfaction. Instead, I just feel tired. "Are you all right?" Kane asks, sensing my shift through our bond. I thought I'd feel more. He turns me in his arms, tilting my chin up to meet his eyes. Those devastating blue eyes that have looked at me with love for 6 years now. "You don't have to feel anything," he says softly. "Not for him. He took enough from both of us. He doesn't get to take any more." I rise on my toes to kiss him. Softly at first, then deeper, until we're both breathless. "I love you," I whisper against his lips. "I love you more." "Not possible. Always possible." He grins, that smile that still makes my heart skip after all this time. "Race you to dinner?" "Kane, you're the alpha. You're supposed to be dignified." But he's already running, and I'm laughing as I chase after him, through the gardens I built, and the halls we rule together, toward the dining room where our daughter waits with white feathers in her hair. We were both broken once. A beast in chains, a healer in bondage. But we put each other back together, piece by piece, choice by choice, until the cracks became the strongest parts of who we are. And that, I've learned, is the truest kind of magic. Not spells or curses or suppressions, just love, stubborn, impossible, unbreakable love. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more dark fantasy romance. Leave a comment with your favorite moment. I love hearing from you. See you in the next story. The end.